So growing butternut squash is fun, but sometimes it's really hard to know when to harvest them. You know, too soon and they'll shrivel and mold, and too late, the frost can kill them. So there's 3 factors to know when you can get your butternut squash harvested at the right time so that it's going to hold up through the fall and into the winter. So let's go over the 3 factors to deciding when to harvest your butternut squash. All right, number 1 is, the first factor is variety. You know, what type of butternut squash did you plant? Is it a late season variety or a short season variety? Now, late season squash can take up to 120 days to mature, and a short season variety can take up to 90 days to mature. So you want to kind of keep track of the days that the squash has been growing in the garden and which type that you planted. All right, number 2 is the maturity factor. So there's an easy test to do to see if the skin on the butternut squash has become hard and mature. So you want to take your thumb and you want to just push it in to the flesh, and then you want to see if it leaves a mark. Now this one, barely leaving a mark, and this one, it's pretty hard. I can hear that it's hard. So if it passes the thumbnail test, then it's ripe and it doesn't need to stay any longer. Now this one down here, it looks about the same, but I can take that and I can push my thumbnail way in it. And you can see that it's oozing right now. So this one is not mature, and this one needs to stay hooked on the vine longer until I can test it with my thumbnail to see if it's if the shell is hard or not. All right, so this one here is mature. I can take this into the house and it'll finish hardening the shell on it for me in a warm, dry place. This one here I need to leave on the vine. Now, the third factor to consider is frost. So the big question is when the frost is going to kill the vine. So sometimes we get a frost before the butternut squash is ready to harvest. And I'm going to start watching the 10-day forecast in early September, and if it's predicted to go below 32 degrees Fahrenheit and my butternut squash have not passed the fingernail test, I'll go ahead and cover the vines with a frost blanket to get them through the night. Now I use 2 1.5 ounce frost blankets over the vines and the squash. Be sure to remember to hold down the blankets with a few rocks, because usually the wind will blow before it gets really cold. And I cover the frost blankets with a layer of plastic just to keep them dry. Now, by covering the vines, this gives my butternut squash vines more time to ripen the squash before I harvest them. And I'll watch the butternut squash closely and get them harvested before a hard frost of below 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if it gets that cold, it's going to damage the butternut squash even if they are mature. So you want to go ahead and get your butternut squash out if it's going to be below 25 degrees. Now, there's a link in the description below if you are interested in getting some of the same frost blankets that I like to use. So once harvested, I will cure the butternut squash by storing them in a warm, dry place for a week, and then they're ready to roast and eat. And I will store them in a dry place for up to 4 months. And if I want to store them longer, I will go ahead and roast them off and then freeze the flesh in a freezer container.